and and then I stayed and for a while, and then I ended up back in Los Angeles as a Sabdar again. And she would. I was thinking about leaving, but I didn't know what to do quite, and uh, I had other ways of making a living, I think, so I wasn't panicked. I was a musician and had other things to do. But I would read from the Guru Granth Sahib at night, and then she would come in from the back after I started reading. So I couldn't talk to her. She'd just sit there with me and wait. And then before I finished reading, she would leave. So I never got to talk to her, and this was really strange behavior. And this went on for about a month. And then I went in and I went to Yogi Bhajan, and all the secretaries were there. And I said I wanted permission to marry her. And they all flipped out. I mean, Yogi Bhajan went down a black hole and just like, and the secretaries were, and finally, I think it was Narendran, maybe. She said, well, we'll discuss this and then we'll talk to you about it. I said, okay. So a week went by, and I was guarding on the street, and Kiran Jo came out the side door of the ashram there, and she came to me and said, says, you can't ever ask that again. And that's all I know, and she didn't say anything else. But when that meeting happened and they did that, I knew something was terribly wrong. I mean, I felt the knife just, and my aura was shattered from trying to figure out what was going on. And then finally, she just said, "You can't ever ask that again." And that's all she said. And then she was like very tearful and stuff. And then she left behind her gate. And I said, "But that's it for me, After all this, I was ready to leave, and I did. And then I met a woman, and I got married. And she was studying Kundalini Yoga. She wasn't really a 3HO person, but we were, doing that together. And about a year after this incident at the gate with Kiran Jo, probably a year went by, and she called me up. And then she told me the whole story, and that basically, everything that Premka had said in her book. But we're talking about this, when all this came down, when Premka came out with her book, I realized that this was the first scandal. The first scandal was with me and Kiran Jo, because Premka hadn't talked yet.
Right. And what year was this about?
Maybe 75.
About 75. So what did she end up telling you? For those that haven't read Premka's book, doesn't have the full scope, what did she tell you in that time?
That he forced himself on her and raped her and was trying to get her into other sexual relationships with the other secretaries. And she was broken, and she was living all over the place on the streets and stuff, and and trying to do the best she can. And it was a terrible, terrible meeting. It probably wrecked my marriage because I, still loved her. Yeah. And I loved my wife. We were a great person, and we stayed together 7 years. And we're still very good friends. But after all that, I just couldn't function. I lost my sexual energy. I was very upset and kind of lost. But that woman, Nirbo, was, I don't know, she was kind of like sent to me sort of as an angel to keep me together. And we started studying martial arts together. And she was a professional mountain climber. And she was the first one that teach me how to do that and go out and live in the woods by myself for months at a time. And so we had a really wonderful 7 years. And, but then her father died, and she just broke. And then right after that, we split up. So